Yeah, I want to share something that's really important. And the whole idea of this is obviously it's going to put money in your pocket if you're planning to start a business or if you're in business. But most of all, what I want to do is help you kind of avoid pitfalls and maybe explode some myths. And the main thing, if I was to sum it up, is to know who your customers are. And time again, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had where I'm talking to someone who's got a great idea. And that may be you. And you can see a global market opportunity, like global, like everywhere. It's just, the numbers are, you're the new unicorn. It's just whoosh. Numbers are terrific. We can spreadsheet the hell out of it. We talk to accountants and friends who help us with our business plan, and it just looks incredible. Right? And so we march off and we do one or two things. Some people go and start seeking venture capital, which why not? And other people, technologists, the less commercially orientated and more technically minded, may go and start developing the product. Okay. Quite often people do both. But they're the things. They're the two things really. Raise money, make the product. That's the two things that most people do. But what they don't do enough of, in my opinion, this is where they all falter, is they don't talk to customers enough. They kind of are shy. They don't want to tell a customer about something that's not ready yet, I guess. I don't know why it is. I've had meetings with customers where I didn't know what I was selling, and I had given it a generic kind of description and told a few people about it and been invited to a meeting. And I attended a meeting with a major pharmaceutical company. It's the one in mind that I often repeat, but it happened to me, but I hear from others it happens to many others. It happens all the time. In fact, it has happened several times since. But I go into an environment and I talk to a customer and they can't start telling me what I do, right? And I'm thinking, okay, well, it's not offensive, right? Let's hear what you think I've got to do, because maybe what you think I can do, I actually can do. I don't know what you think I can do yet. But let's hear from you. You're the customer. Because the customer is always right? Well, not always, but when it comes to describing what they want, they're certainly right. So listening into a customer is a really, really cool thing to do. But I digress somewhat. Anyway, you can get quite big money invested in you when you listen to customers. So there's a real upside to doing this, is what I'm saying. But the reality is that most people I speak to have gone off and designed a product or are trying to raise money, the two things, and not, there are a few, to be honest, there are a few planning pilot projects, and sometimes they involve businesses, clients, sometimes they're kind of friends of the family, which is okay, and sometimes they are through charities and they're paid for. And, again, that's okay, because when you're actually working with a customer, right? However that customer is defined, the customer will, in the communication, play a role in shaping the product or service. You will shape the product or service to suit the customer, okay? It might fundamentally be what you intended, but it'll be shaped, it'll be packaged, it'll be delivered over a period of time or in a certain way that suits that customer. Because why not? Why wouldn't you do that? You would. And you would learn through that process. And it is through learning from that process that you will actually pivot and develop your product and expand your market and create the business. Okay, but you only really have the business when you talk to a customer, because a customer is someone who recognizes the issue and is prepared to pay money to solve the problem. And this is the rub. I've seen people with amazing technology solve enormous global problems, and charities may well pay for it. And the problem might be something that millions or billions of people might even share. But individually, those individuals won't, they are not in a position to pay any money for whatever reason. Okay. The last thing on their mind is like paying for something when what they really need, for example, is a job. They have no income. Potentially. They might be young. They don't know what to buy. They don't know what else is available. Anyway, they're not the right decision maker. And your tool or your service or your system is global, and they're just an individual. So if you produce a global tool, you need to find global customers. And global customers may well be government, may well be charity. So I'm not ruling them out, but tend not to be that commercial. And the problem with government and charity is they're good when they've got the budget, and then suddenly the budget drops off the cliff. Whereas a commercial opportunity, the problem doesn't go away. There's an ever increasing amount of people wanting to pay for it. Okay? That's the difference. And in a commercial world, the market really is expanding. Okay. I mean, it can be the case in government, it can be the case with charity, but normally, it's budgets, it's cycles, big dollops of cash, and then nothing, right? Waiting for new decisions can sometimes take 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Sometimes, the best nuclear fission, right, can be the most effective thing for creating power. However, that government has something against nuclear fission, for example, and would never, ever, for whatever issue or whatever reason, invest or pay for that kind of technology. So, yeah, that's it. Be clear on who your customers are. You get to pivot. You get a never-ending supply of customers if you choose them correctly. It can work globally. We can run campaigns globally, but we start by understanding who the customer is, and we target that specific niche. This is the other thing. In a global market, we can't advertise, we can't promote a business globally, a small business, my business, here in my room. To make this business global, I can't possibly advertise to every single person who's in business everywhere in the world. But what I can do is I can start by influencing or talking to a few people, helping them achieve what they need to achieve, learn from the process or customize the process to suit them, realize that helps others like them, and then open the market up by finding more people that are similar to the ones that I've helped. Now I've got a story, I've got a narrative, but I've also got a process that's proven to work and apply, and it works in a commercial scenario. And therefore I can expand it, and now I can go to VCs. Now with actual customers, I can go to the government. I can get grants. I can go to charities. They can invest because they can see that I'm definitely helping customers. Although, if I'm already a commercial entity, some of these avenues will be locked down. I won't need them anymore because actually, I can make more money by actually just helping clients. And this is often where I get to with people who spend years and years trying to raise VC. When I say to them, hang on, if you spent more than 6 months trying to raise money, how much money could you have earned if you'd have just gone to the market and won some customers? And how much equity would you have given away in return? And the answer is zero, because they're customers. You just sell them a product or service, and then you keep all your equity. You keep your entire business. It remains yours. And it's quite surprising when you look at the way that many VCs, it's really, anyone who raises cash for a VC is, first of all, extremely lucky just themselves. It's a hard job. It's hard to do. Secondly, if you do raise a VC, we read in the paper and the press and hear of others earning millions, but you've got to understand they don't get millions on day one. Hello, bang, sign, millions. It doesn't work like that. What happens is they have a series of meetings that may have taken months and months and months. They get all sorts of financial complexities start occurring. A little bit of cash for equity, a little bit of cash for a loan, a little bit of cash for this project, a little bit of cash for something else, a little bit of cash to prove something, make that happen, get to that, point, milestone, and then from that milestone another drop of cash will come. There's this constant pressure. Exactly the same kind of pressures, but actually heavier, in my opinion, than if you just had a focus on winning customers in the first place. Once you've won customers and you know how customers have won, and you've gone through the process of pivoting and changing your business to suit the customers, you're in a much, much better position to negotiate finance. In fact, you can just borrow money, and you'll be amazed when you've got a proven business how inexpensive money can be, and how it can fluctuate so that you only borrow against sales, right? So you don't ever overborrow, and the amount that you've borrowed is always covered by an invoice. That's called invoice discounting, which a lot of people have never heard of. But it's a form of business finance. You're financing your debt. Your sales are debt. They owe you money. So you can sell that invoice to a bank. Nearly all banks will buy your invoices because they are contracts of sale. Chances are they'll get the money in the majority of cases. And obviously they'll vet your customer to make sure that they think they're creditworthy, and then they'll advance a proportion, if not all, or 95 or 98% of that invoice, so you don't have to worry about cash flow, which also means you don't have to hire a crack accounts team and a couple of heavies to go and collect the money, right? So actually your business is lighter, you need less space, less administration, less headaches, because you outsource the raising of finance to invoice sales is one solution, right? So invoice sales, I like it because there's no VC, it's with a bank, you have very few meetings, it's black and white, here's an invoice, here's the cash. Arrives in the bank account, no messing, no trouble, on with the business. But that really happens only when you are clear on who your customers are. Anyway, I hope you got a lot out today. Good to talk to you. I look forward to speaking to you again.